So I took a quiz to tell me which country would be fitting for me, and I got Japan. I would honestly move there for the street style alone. Realizing it's not feasible for me to pack my bags up and move there right now, also can't speak the language, that's a big caveat, I decided to make an outfit inspired by Japanese style. Because I can do that. I love how detailed, experimental, and full of personality it is. I also love all the variety of subcultures you see. And for this project, I want to do a play on hard and soft, mixing elegance with grunge, and play into the layered detail aesthetic. Taking the idea of juxtaposition between old and new, I'm taking my old clothes and making it something new. And yeah, this is actually the final project, but pixelated for suspense. You gotta stay to the end, I mean, come on. And here's a sketch. Two aspects of this I ran with. The front bra-like cutout and the back cutout. Mainly because it was improv, because I wanted to remove the pocket on the front and the ginormous logo on the back of the shirt. Now, I keep saying it, improv is the greatest brainstorming tactic. That's why I created this series. And these are the legs that I cut off a pair of cargo joggers that I ended up making into shorts. They're perfect for the oversized sleeve that I wanted to create. You can see, I love oversized sleeves. The fabric you see here is a dense 4-way stretch knit. It was fabric left over from when I was going to make and sell athletic apparel that, until I wear tested, realized that not all performance knits can perform. So I used it to pipe the vertical edges of the back cutout to add structure and color balance, since the black was the right shade to match the sleeves. And the next feature I'd like to call the Vaser back, because I'm quirky like that. It's like the optical illusion. Do you see a vase or a face? And then I was being a dingbat and cut fabric right on top of the shirt I just finished meticulously patterning and chopped off a chunk. So created further improvisation. Word for the wise, maybe don't cut the fabric on top of the garment. Though actually the extra curve ended up working out miraculously, but I didn't try my luck again, so I opted to cut it in the air. Wouldn't want the table to get in the way of my precision. Casualties aside, I have the lace sections that will be sewn from behind to give the look of stained glass panels. I like it. Moving along. Little disclaimer, this isn't a how-to video. I'm not giving myself authority for that. Take cooking shows, for example. People like to watch them, but do we ever spend the whole afternoon making sushi? But it might inspire you to make something else. No. I just want fashion designing, the actual creating process, to be more out there in the world of entertainment. There's Project Runway, which I love watching, and definitely got me excited to do some form of art afterwards, but I'd laugh at the only $500 to spend at the fabric store. Oh man, how will I ever create something wearable for that? It's just not realistic. But with the idea of upcycling being so popular, I just decided I'd take my own little spin on it. It's unfortunate that only like 10% or so of the clothes you donate actually get resold, so I know one way to guarantee that actually not just getting thrown away. I will make new clothes out of them. It's low risk, and as I keep mentioning, it just really makes me think of some really random stuff, and I like to be random. Crazy coincidence, but I already had this in my material stash, shaped perfectly for the cutout, and even pre-sewn in the center. Crazy. Well shoot, that looked like a superhero mask, so use that last bit of lace to fancy it up a bit. Measuring where not to put the see-through fabric, if you catch my drift. I kind of wanted it to look like a bra and a shirt, but tastefully. Staying true to my goal of mixing hard and soft design elements. When working with solid colors, it can look like a big blank blob. Just too much dead space, especially when designing oversized garments. Breaking up the sea of maroon with cutouts and supplemental material made this not so, hi, I'm a giant shirt. I don't know what I'm doing half of the time, all of the time that I am doing something. I just start. That's my plan going into it. I keep hearing that I feel like you're gonna do YouTube, that you need to like plan your videos out and stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, I got inspired to do that. And so I looked through and I started to make groups of like something that I think could like go together and be a project. Well, like, I guess it kind of worked. I mean, I matched a few colors together, but it was kind of funny because the two leftover things, I was like, I don't know where to put these. That's what I used for this project. So the one thing I didn't plan was what ended up being what I did. But I like it like that, so come at me, bro. Ooh. Like really necessary for balancing out the really big sleeves I plan to put on this. So that was part of the goal going into that. I use the sleeves that I cut off from the maroon shirt as go days, because when I use fancy vocabulary, I feel like I know what I'm doing. After pondering whether this garment would be better suited as a tunic dress, I made the executive decision that it would, realizing I had crossed the fine line between oversized shirt and tunic dress with the flared shape. Remember that suede shirt I showed you at the beginning of the video? Well, I didn't forget about it. I chopped off the bottom, celebrated that the hem was already done, because hemming a circle skirt is, no. And then I sewed it to the bottom of my tunic. For balance, I couldn't just have one blob of fabric that looked like a Frankenstein shirt, so I tied it in with the sleeve. I didn't go to fashion school. Everything I know is just through having fun with fashion, and I love making clothing, I love making art, I love making art into clothing. There's just a lot left to explore. You can really just work with anything. I mean, that's why I don't necessarily boil this down to a how-to. Well, it's not a how-to, a project I'm making, it's just a how-to experiment. Yeah, my Let's Sew series. How to experiment. Kind of fun. But wait, there's more. I'm not done with the suede skirt yet. I used every square inch. Those cargo pant sleeves I made earlier looked like pant legs, but by adding the waistband from the skirt, it cinched the opening around the arm and color coordinated to the maroon palette I had going on. Perfect. So there's this thing about speaking to a camera that can make you freeze up and not be able to talk normal. I get it because it doesn't really react to anything you say. This entire time I'm talking, it just is this little green light staring at me, which is kind of awkward. Just imagine if someone's just like staring at you, like just crack a joke and they just kept staring at you. But I can make my computer laugh at my jokes after the fact, so then I can feel good later about it. See, let's just pretend I told a joke. Can't guarantee that from a real audience. It's also hard because I have to be the conversator, conversee. I don't know if either of those are words, but usually no one's trying to be two roles at once, so they didn't have to make a word for it. Me and my personalities. No, I just one personality. Just my inner head and my outer head voice. I found this piece of trim in my "this will come in handy one day" shoebox and used it to finish off the floating sleeve. Once again with the hard soft mix between the black cargo pants, suede, and the dainty ornate trim. Tunic is finished, but it needed an accessory. I love Japanese style for the layering and embellishment, so I decided to do a collar harness vest. Yeah. First thing that popped in my head was a pair of shorts, and it was time for them to be reinvented. Just saw a waistband become the top of a sleeve, but can it become a collar? It was a real tough decision. Not. The last button was the only one I had two of. Actually, it was my favorite one as well, so not like I really had a choice, but that worked out. It also was surprisingly similar to the lace. There's one other part of my initial sketch that I wanted to incorporate. The arch detail. You're cutting the pocket areas out, it arched it so that it could go underneath the sleeves and create that effect. This project made it blaringly obvious how boring a lot of mainstream fashion is. Like, let's just get this out of the way. I already knew it was boring. This was not like a realization. It just made it painfully more obvious than it already was. I was just looking through the Vogue 2022 Tokyo street, what is that called? People that are like style muses on the street and will have like super cool outfits. And I definitely want to live somewhere where it's such a part of the culture to have fun with fashion. My little channel here is me having fun with it. Idea of what I was doing, but I must say, this stumped me for a little while. I kept playing with it on the mannequin until it seemed like it had potential. Went on a run to clear my head. Came back and I was like, wow, I like it. Breaks are good sometimes to help the brain catch up with what the heck was happening. But I still had minor issues, and that was the wonky flimsiness of the harness that just made it look tacky. I had this trim from when I was making a chair, and it's not like the vest looked so good that I was worried about screwing it up, so I was like, yeah, sure, why not, let's add this. It took a while, but it did come together and look good from afar. I sewed it with the backside facing up. I was not paying attention to what the visible part was looking like. I didn't realize just how wavy my seams were on the side that, shows. I did the job, boss. No? Oh, as any well-trained designer would do. Well, thankfully I'm not a well-trained designer and I taught myself, so we make our own rules around here. So I came up with the brilliant idea of covering it up with a big fat zigzag stitch. I feel like I'm joking, but the fact that it actually turned out really good, I feel proud of myself for that. Some might consider lazy decision. But since it looks good, all I have to say is, yeah, I meant for that to happen. Why did I just explain that in this entire time? I don't have to throw myself under the bus. Oh no, we have another casualty, boss. No worries, that can be covered up too. Great branding opportunity. Whatever your biggest oopsie is, that's where the tag goes. I love being my own boss. As long as it's not careless throughout the entire process. As long as there's at some point within there where the final step really brings it together. It doesn't matter how rocky the road is getting there or how wavy you paint that dashed line. As long as it's headed in the right direction. And when it really counts, it looks good. Then you just add a little hook and eye action for the closure and ta-da! It's a collar harness vest. I really tried to create a name, but every single time I combined those three words together, it just came out as something I probably shouldn't say on camera. And just one more thing. I promise. I wanted to add the Japanese alphabet somewhere into my design, and so I stitched it onto the back of my vest harness collar. The is complete. Well, that was fun. I'd love to hear what you think of it. Next video, but for now, I'm off to Japan. I flew all the way here for this photo, totally.